What is the culture of America, you might say? Well, in order to understand what America's culture is, you have to understand what the definition of what makes a country's culture. The definition of a country's culture encompasses the shared beliefs, values, behaviors, and customs that characterize a particular nation. So what is the unifying cultural belief that encompasses most of America? What is this culture? You can't say voting is. Voting is a systematic duty, not a culture. How about religion? Well, religion can't be a culture because in America there are literally numerous versions of different types of religion, and some will save most religions, actually work against the unification of what is considered cohesively cultural. There are different types of music, different types of politics, different types of heritage. So, what is the big unifying cultural aspect of America? Well, by the definition, the biggest shared belief, values, and behavior, that would be the fat culture. Yes, America's culture is united by blubber.
Breaking news, I can be this and this at the same time. You get the best of both worlds.
This is not hyperbole, and this is not an exaggeration. This is based on pure facts. Because approximately 70% of adults in the United States are either overweight or obese. This includes individuals with a body mass index, BMI, that falls within the overweight or obese categories. Specifically, the CDC reports that over 70% of U.S. adults aged 20 and older are considered overweight or obese when combining both categories. Not even Christianity can match the stranglehold the fat culture has on American society. For example, in the United States, Christians make up 62% of the adult population, according to a recent Pew Research Center study. But according to the Northern Arizona Healthcare Today, 238 million Americans are overweight or obese. That's 70% of the United States, according to the National Institutes. That's right, 70% of all Americans are overweight or in the process of transitioning to becoming morbidly obese. That should be an astonishing revelation for those who should care. The CDC estimates that the annual cost of obesity and being overweight in the United States accounts for nearly $173 billion in medical expenditures. This figure represents direct medical costs associated with treating obesity and related conditions. But it does not include other potential costs, such as lost productivity or reduced quality of life. That's an astronomical number, over $173 billion a year in wasteful spending. But remember, it says this number doesn't include the potential costs. For example, losses in productivity. So this number can easily be doubled, and it doesn't include the quality of life that's being reduced. The elephant in the room, no pun intended, is being ignored because it goes against the fat cultural narrative. To put this in perspective of how fat culture is literally destroying the American dream, take other programs that have been deemed by certain people to be wasteful, such as homelessness and food assistance. Nonprofit organizations spend an estimated $8.6 billion annually on emergency shelters and transitional housing. The Department of Housing and Urban Development estimates it would cost $20 billion to end homelessness in the U.S., according to Global Giving. These programs don't even scratch the surface of the damage that is incurred from the fat culture. But wait, it gets better. The Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, commonly known as food stamps, costs the U.S. federal government approximately $100 billion annually. Even this number doesn't come close to the damage that occurred from the fat culture medical expenditures. These two large safety net programs have been under attack because they were considered wasteful expenditures. But if you look at the data itself, The biggest wasteful expenditure is that of the fat culture, plus that $173 billion is a low ball estimation, because the real train wreck effect of it, overweight culture, puts this number closer to over $500 billion and growing. The truth is, the potential damage of this is monumental. That means the real culture of America is eating, going out to eat, or staying home to eat, or having someone deliver your food, you guessed it, to eat. The fat culture in America has had an impact on all demographics within the country. While there are variations in the prevalence of obesity across different groups, data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention indicates that obesity affects various demographics, including racial and ethnic groups, individuals with different levels of educational attainment, and different age groups. That means the shared values that cross party lines, racial lines, education, and income is the fat culture unification belief. To those who understand how cultural sociology works, they understand that it has a darker side to it, because when something becomes culturally accepted by the masses, a massive negative reaction happens when that belief is threatened by a different competing narrative that puts into question the standardized belief system. Individuals or groups perceive their culture as being under attack or threatened. They may react strongly, and in some cases these reactions can escalate into conflict or even violence. And that is what we see happening now with the fat acceptance movement.
This fat acceptance activist got triggered by a simple question.
What I'm hearing is this intense discussion around self-hatred and when you're in a bigger body. And I wanted to ask people down the front there, you who's 20, is your life better? Are you happier? Is everything better now that you're slightly smaller than you were before?
Absolutely. And I'm not a little bit smaller, I'm a lot smaller. I did do research into everything. I can still have kids, and that may not have happened if I had stayed the size I was. My question to you is, can you honestly say that you are 100% happy and healthy? Like, you have no medical conditions whatsoever, you have no problems at all with your health?
I think it's really interesting that I feel like I need to justify my existence in this room.
No, but hang on a minute. You asked her to justify her decision.
I asked her
she's
if she was
asking...
happy. I didn't ask her to justify what her health issues now, or if there is any.
But have you got any health issues?
The fat positivity movement, or when they start to use defensive terms like fat phobic. This is a normal reactive response to when something that is culturally accepted starts to be put into question. If that sounds a little cult, like to you, you're not far off. The terms cult and culture share a common root in the Latin word colere, meaning to till, to cultivate, or to worship. While both words have diverged in meaning, their origins highlight a fundamental link: the formation of groups through shared practices and beliefs. People of the fat cultural movement become emotionally sensitive to the medical reality that this is detrimental to health, believing this is some sort of attack or warfare against their cultural belief. So what does the fat culture mean to you? It means even though America may not have a culture that was naturally passed down through generations, it has adapted a new type of cultural belief, the belief in the blubber utopia of the fat culture. To prove this, just head down to your nearest popular grocery store like a Walmart and see that there is a unifying aspect to everyone there, different backgrounds, education, and standards of living. But they have one common trait. That's right, the culture of fat. The question now you may be asking yourself, am I part of that culture? Well, you're likely to be if any of the following conditions apply. A BMI of 25 to 29.9 is considered to be overweight. A BMI over 30 is considered to be obese, and if you're more than 100 pounds over your ideal body weight. If you meet any of these criteria, well, then congratulations to you. You are part of the biggest culture in America. They will welcome you with open arms, as long as you don't remind them of the health risk of this fat culture belief system, the severe negative health effects related to your weight, such as high blood pressure or diabetes. Well, that's nothing to worry about. I'm sure you'll live a long, healthy life. Just know you're being embraced by a culture of people who care.